Hi, and welcome to this week's GMBN Tech Show. What we got on with this? Hi, and welcome to this week's GMBN Tech Show. Coming up on the show this week, we have
Short Travel Spectral from Canyon.
Oh, hell of a bike that. Some e-bike speculation stuff from SRAM.
V-Tyres start working with Aaron Gwynn.
And Ragley have got some new paint jobs apparently.
Boom.
Okay, so straight into this week's show, and something that we always talk about is what is the most desirable bike in the world, or more importantly, the most desirable mountain bike in the world. And I guess this could be split into a few categories. You could say, no money, no object, whatever, just pick absolutely anything you want, or it could be what is the most desirable bike in terms of what's affordable. I'm just going to throw a bike out there and just say, right now, one of the most desirable bikes in the world, in my eyes, would be the Evil Offering.
The Evil Offering, really? I mean, I totally respect everything Evil done. I think I said to you earlier that one of the most desirable bikes I had in the past was actually the Evil Sovereign. I don't know why.
That was a hardtail, wasn't it?
It was. It was like an aggressive steel hardtail. Again, it's like us talking about steel bikes, but back when I started riding bikes, I thought that was cool. I thought that would make me a better rider. I thought I'd be a great rider if I had an aggressive hardtail. So for me, that was desirable.
You've made me remember, and I think we've touched on this before, some other cool stuff that Evil did. I have no idea what it's called, but they made a weird aggressive hardtail with a twin top tube thing.
It did ring some bells, yeah.
I mean, it looked like it was made from iron rather than steel, but it was pretty cool. And that was the thing that had a chain guide on it. There was an Evil chain guide, and then the company split, and chain guide brand turned into E13.
Yeah,
and they moved apart at that point.
I do remember the Sovereign actually came out with a lot of bash guards that were super bright red, and I think that's what E13 were all about, bright red sort of plasticky components.
Feels racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was quite notable. But when you asked the question, desirable bike, the first thing I thought is, well, obviously it's your next bike, isn't it? The most desirable bike is always the bike you don't have. It doesn't matter whether it's out of your reach financially.
I'm going to go down the road that I'm accused of going down far too often with the rose-tinted glasses here, and say a desirable bike could be a bike that you never got to have. And this isn't to say it's a good bike.
Is this an excuse to bring up some vintage?
Of course it is. Of course it is. I would very much like to have an old Klein, in particular, like one of the ones I saw at the Trailhead, or an old Yeti on display, only for my own enjoyment, not for any other reason. I'm not saying it's a good bike, they're just beautiful and they're desirable in a different way. But then modern bikes, I'm gonna throw an argument in here for a great value bike, the Vitus Escape.
Yeah.
So $3,500 bike, full XT spec, Maxxis tyres, front and rear, DT wheels, carbon frame, great geometry. Literally, you'd struggle to get a better bike, and I think it's a really desirable bike as well.
Yeah, I mean, some of going back to, thinking about what I've desired in the past, I actually, and you'll laugh at me for this, but when I started racing cross country, I really wanted a Trek 69er. And it's not because it was super expensive, it's because it was weird, it was cool. We were all riding 26-inch bikes back then. Everyone was super skeptical of 29ers. And then this team bust on the scene at Bristol Bike Fest here in the UK.
Yep.
They were all in super colourful like spandex, skin suits. And they had mustaches, some of them had long hair. And they were riding these single-speed copper bikes with a 26 at the back and a 29 at the front.
Cross-country rebels.
And they had those ridiculous Mavic forks, and I just thought they were the coolest things on the planet, and I was like, I want to be like that.
Can I just remind you of when you accused me of like an old tat about the time you once liked a bike that was poo brown?
But
the poo brown Trek 69.
Look, like now, I would not desire that. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool. I kind of want to ride one just for fun.
I can't deny it wasn't a cool bike at the time.
It was.
It didn't make any sense to me though, having a big wheel at the front and loads of suspension, and a tiny little wheel at the back is just going to kick up your arse.
It's just an early day mullet, is it not?
Yeah, it is. All right, Specialized stump jumper, and this could be old, it could be the brand new version. I think stump jumpers, they've nailed the bike. They've nailed the appeal of having hey, this bike is amazing. Every year it seems to get better. Every year they have different spectrums in terms of pricing. I know that some of the bikes are extremely expensive, but also you can't knock what you get for the money at the other end of the spectrum as well. I think they're like mass appeal, really desirable bikes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in terms of money, going back to the whole what's desirable, it's the next bike. I mean, for me, 3 weeks ago, it was the Orbea Rallon M Limited, because that was my next bike, and I was looking at it and speccing it and dreaming up riding it. And now I have it. I'm not desiring it anymore because I've got it.
Because you got it, yeah.
But I'm now desiring my next bike, which is actually probably going to be a nuke-proof Scout. And I don't, it's not going to be an all singing, all dancing spec. And that doesn't matter to me. That's not stopped me dreaming up what hubs I'm putting up on it, what cockpit's going to look like, what I'm going to do on it in the forest when I get it. So to me, that's the next desirable bike for me, the Scout.
And another angle is, it's kind of like the best bike you have is the first one you pull out the shed, or the best camera you got is the one that's in your hand. It's like very much that for me. That's the old purple reactor I got.
Yeah.
Day in, day out, whenever, it's always there. I mean, he's looking a bit tired now after Spain, to be fair, but yeah, a great bike. But I'm going to throw no money, no object, like literally just spend all the money in the world on it. Uno. These bikes, yeah. Look at this one, and a caramel brown. Oh my god! And you were talking about the Chris King stuff the other day in that copper colour. Oh my! You could go ridiculous on that. That'd be an insane build.
Chris King Bourbon on anything looks insane, for sure. I mean, that was one of my desired things back in the day. Was like a titanium bike with Chris King Pink limited edition. It was like the sort of cancer research limited edition, just all over it. And that would have been, that was a desirable bike back in the day. So yeah, maybe the bike is just what's got everything that's perfect for you on it. Maybe a custom job. Yeah, maybe that's what I desire now, is a custom geometry, custom spec, everything I want. I'd
be in fear of designing a custom geometry bike now and then changing my mind, because I've done this. I've done this in the past, and it's actually not too far off the mark. My old Ty Ragley, still pretty good, but it's the 26-inch wheel bike now, so it's just like
kind of like getting a tattoo and
regretting it.
With John Bon Jovi on your back or something.
Oh, that's like Bauer who reads the news. He's got a specialised tattoo.
No, I know,
but I heard he wants to buy an Orbea, which I find hilarious. What's he going to do with the tattoo? It's so bad. But on a serious note, what is it about bikes you find desirable? Is anything we've just been talking about resonate with you? Is it about what you actually want? Is it about something that you can't have but you really want? Is it about something nostalgic that you never had the first time around? Pick it up in a conversation. I think it's pretty interesting. What is the most desirable bike? Okay, into news then, and the first thing I'd like to bring to the table is the new Canyon Spectral 125. Now this, to me, pretty much looks like a perfect bike. Subjective, of course. The sort of bike that I would put my money on tomorrow. 140mm travel up front, 125 out back, 29-inch wheels, and pretty much the same geometry as the existing Spectral, which I've been riding for a while, and I just immediately want to swap to a short travel bike. Call me crazy. I know you questioned this earlier on about wheel travel and stuff, but to me, it just hits all of the right buttons.
I was being devil's advocate here. I was like, if it's exact, you've got it already. If it's the exact same geometry, why downgrade your suspension? Why go less? What's wrong with more?
See, I don't see downgrading in terms of the amount of travel you have as a downgrade. I prefer the feeling of being connected to the ground. I like to feel what the ground is doing under my tyres. I get it, people want the complete opposite. There's obviously a market because Canyon have brought this bike out. So head angle is 64 degrees, head angle is 64 degrees, seat angle is 76 degrees, so same as the current Spectral. 437mm chainstays, 4 sizes with reach from 435 to 511, so literally mirroring it. 2 alloy models, 3 carbon models, alloy from in pound sterling, 2449 to 2949, and carbon from 3399 to 5649. I've got to have one. I literally, there's nothing wrong with the 150 I've got. I've just made that Magura video on the bike, loved riding it, but I just want it to have less travel.
No, I get it. I was playing devil's advocate. I mean, it makes sense for that bike to be in a short travel. It's a gap in their range, and also it's a fun bike, so it should have playful poppy suspension to go with it.
There is one thing I do worry about with it though, I've got to say. So the Reactor, big fan, because it's also a short travel bike. Head angle's a little steeper on it, and people were like, oh, it should be slacker. I'm not necessarily sure. I think it works brilliant with it. The Canyon having a 64-degree head angle with 125 mil travel out back, it might be asking for trouble a bit. Like, I think it will want to get pushed harder than perhaps the back end might let you get away with.
Maybe.
The designers did say, though, they've designed the rear end to offer you maximum pop, whatever that means. But I think what they're saying is they want the travel to feel like it's really usable. You can push into stuff and let the bike zip over the top of stuff, hopefully without feeling harsh, which it could risk being. But we shall see.
I guess we'll find out.
I hope so. I really hope so. Annoyingly, I've seen someone here. I'm guessing Blake. There's a size medium one already here. It's not an extra large though. Yeah.
Too small for you.
Yeah, unless you want to watch a clown bike video edit.
It would be like a full size 4 cross bike under you. So next up, we've got SRAM have just registered, well not just, but we've just noticed they've registered a team called the Black Box Test Pilot Program into the EWS E series. So this makes me question, why would they have a black box team if they're not going to be covering an e-bike in black box equipment? So black box is the name they commonly use when SRAM are testing stuff on their bikes. So we've seen Cecile Ravenel testing lockout coil shocks in EWS before. We've seen Nino Schurter running black box electric equipment in World Cups before, and he was testing out the early Eagle Axis electric systems there. And now they've got this EWS E team. Okay, so they could be testing drivetrains, they already do brakes, but this just made me think, are we seeing an e-bike specific?
A motor? Perhaps?
Maybe.
This is literally a speculation.
Yeah, it was complete speculation.
I think it's really cool. and actually, we would make kind of like in the way that you see stuff developed in downhill, like the boxer fork, you see the internals of that making it down to like the Lyric and the Pike. There could be elements of strength testing and other stuff with e-bikes, given what they're doing on them now at that level. I think there's loads of cool stuff to come from that.
I mean, surely they're going to have to up the game with parts. You know, e-bikes are growing so much now in sales. They're really going to have to up everything in terms of drivetrains, brakes. So why not?
Could be good.
Why not motors?
Watch this space, I think. More e-bike related stuff, but actually not. So DT have got this hybrid HU utility wheel, there's a mouthful, called the HU 1900. There's the wheel on screen. Now it is designed for e-bikes, cargo bikes and things like that, but essentially it's still a mountain bike wheel. But the cool thing about this is it's got a 185 kilogram weight limit on it. So if you're a big rider or if you're particularly hard on stuff, then actually there's a lot of common sense in looking at this. If nothing else, maybe as a back wheel, if you're a serious bruiser in the way that you ride. So it's got reinforced rim, a reinforced hub shell, and it's even got thicker spokes, 2.34 millimeter thick spokes. So you know this thing is going to be really strong. It's got the same ratchet drive that you see on the rest of their hubs. And they're doing 27.5, 29, and also 700C option. And it weighs, they weigh from 2,324 grams, so not the lightest, but that weight limit alone surely is going to be attractive to some people out there. I just wanted to share that because I think that's actually something legit that's actually really useful for some riders.
I think that's going to be quite a bit heavier as a wheel.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're saying 2,324 grams, but they're not saying what that's for, what model and stuff, so you'd have to assume it's probably the lighter one out of the three, so it is going to be fairly heavy. But if you're smashing wheels all the time and you're struggling with that, and again, if you're an e-biker, then it might be a good thing.
Yeah, we can't just be doing weight weenie stuff all the time.
Nah, weight weenie stuff gets boring.
So Ragley have just dropped some fresh paintwork, and this might seem a little weak, maybe revamping something that already exists, but Ragley say that they have struggled to get hold of products before the year, and they didn't want their customers to go out or go without, basically. So they've refreshed the paintwork on a frame only, couple of their models. Basically, we've got an ultraviolet on a Trig now. We've got a Parma Violet on an Umbop.
Parma Violet, not like the Horrible Sweets.
No, yeah, it's a little paler. Quite nice. It's quite bright for a pastel colour, actually. And then a Lollipop Bigwig as well. I think they've missed a trick not doing a Lollipop Umbop, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
I really like Ragley bikes. They've always made really good value bikes, great hardtails.
Yeah, well, these are starting at $349.99 for frame only.
Yeah.
And it's basically allowing customers to get a jump on custom building their own bike because parts are hard to come by for manufacturers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to buy your own stuff
Get on with
and build it up. And yeah, they seem really good value for money. and they're good looking bikes.
Nice stuff. Next up, some completely different side of news. So the Intense racing team led by Aaron Gwynn are now sponsored by V Tyres. Now V Tyres, a lot of you might be thinking like, who are they? Actually, they're one of the biggest tyre manufacturers outright in Thailand, alongside Lion Tyres that make Vittoria and various other brands. So V actually make for scooters, for mopeds, motorsport, they make for loads of other industries. And I just thought it's really cool that Aaron Gwynn put this sort of testing vlog up on his website and on his YouTube even. And it's really cool because not only is he talking about the tyres in quite a candid way, these are like stock items that he's running here to do some back-to-back testing. Interestingly, he's using that BYB telemetry system that we used for the braking video recently with Suspension Doctor. But it's just a mega cool video. There's no sort of music. It's really like a vlog with him out in the hills testing and seeing what works best. And if you look closely, you can see he's got shrouding around his frame. Doing not a very good job of hiding the high pivot and the idler wheel that you can clearly see. I think I wrote down here, you can clearly see it at 5:43. If you press pause in the video, you can see the back end of the bike, and it looks like it's working amazing. I mean, it might just be a ploy to draw a bit of attention to it, to be fair.
Anything looks good under Aaron Gwynn, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, but you can really tell when he's like comfortable on something as well. I think there's a different thing that comes out, and the whole thing with this video is him just talking about the way they're trying to get the bike set up and stuff, and he's trying different shocks, different tyres. It's just mega interesting, and actually I think just him being quite candid on camera, just saying exactly what they're doing, it's just made me think, man, like I'd really like to meet the guy. I never met him, and I just think I found him far more interesting. Like really sort of engaged with him watching this video. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's always exciting when a company gets an athlete to come on and actually give genuine feedback. And it seems like they've got a factory that's quite, well, not small enough, but you know, close knit enough that they can make changes real quick based on what he's saying.
100%,
so that's going to be really exciting to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I mean, the bike looks, I mean, it's hard to tell because it's got their kind of racing red and white sort of dazzle print style paint job to try and mask what the shapes are on there. But it looks to me like it's what Jeff Stieber shared in his private Instagram a few weeks back when we looked at it on the show. So yeah, I think it looks really cool. But kind of interesting, just a few elements in that video to watch. And also, he references a few other things in there. So he helped develop the Giro, I think it's called a chamber or the camber shoe, I forget which. And he's been riding them ever since. And he's got a few different pairs of shoes in here that looks like he hasn't got a footwear sponsor. So he's just trying different things out. It's great to see pro riders doing this sort of approach. Very different from seeing someone who's already got a deal together and they're actually just in it racing. So more behind the scenes stuff from races, please. Looks awesome. The link to Gwynn's video is going to be under here, so please do watch it. It's really cool.
Cool, and over to sort of a more UK-based celebrity, I would say, is our Guy Martin has just been given a brand new orange. It's a custom number, although it's not custom geometry, but they've given him a fresh brushed aluminium finish, and they've laced it with some of the old Hope Green cranks, which we used to see on the
pro-only bikes.
Yeah, team, and you knew that was a pro bike when you saw the Green Hope stuff on there. So he's got some Hope Green cranks. He's also got some Hope Tech 3 brakes with some green detailing in there, but everything else is pretty stock. We've got Fox Flow X, Fox 36 is on the front, so he's not going super enduro here. This looks like
just a banging trail bike, really, yeah.
For sure, and with Shimano Dior XT on there, you know, this is a workhorse, this is not for show. Guy's actually going to be using it. And I hope we see him at some enduros soon, because
I'm sure
he races every now and then.
He did the Strath Puffer a few years back, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he was like devilishly fit. I think people really didn't expect just how fit and strong he is, but he's got the mentality for it, that's for sure.
Yes, his stubbornness to win. No, he is good, so have a look at that.
Yeah, very cool stuff. So local designer and fabricator, I think that's fair to call him, D Ward Design, referenced him a few times on the show. He's just had these up on his Instagram page. Oh my God, sorry, I don't even know where to start. It's essentially like a taco bash guard that mounts onto your ISCG guard. It's the most beautiful piece of a chain guide type thing I've ever seen. Just absolutely gorgeous. They're not going to be cheap. They're made from 6/4 titanium, got Torx T30 fasteners on them. And he says currently he knows this one fits a 32 tooth and needs to check on a 34 tooth chainring just to be sure. And he's literally making these with a CNC machine in his garage. They are just absolutely beautiful. So if you're looking to build a project bike and you want some components on there, like finished works of art, like this is the sort of gear you want to put on there.
That little purple to pink fade just gets me. I don't know why. It just gets me and I want it.
Yeah, let's head up there and pick up a couple from them. I reckon.
I think we
really
need
nice.
to do some testing on those for sure. So Nico Mullally is dropping some more in-depth videos about his new bike. So basically he's got part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is focusing on the low pivot bike, I think we're calling it. And then the part 2 is the high pivot bike. And he's going super in-depth about what he's built here, why he's built it. And he's also talking about what's gone wrong, some of the tolerances that weren't quite right, some of the mistakes he's made along the way, which is just great to see. And he's getting really good comments in the videos at the moment. People just super excited to see a bike going through production, going through tests, and him being super honest about what it's taken. And yeah, but effectively he's shining up something that already works really well. And I think it's exciting to see someone be really honest about building bikes.
It does make a change, doesn't it? Yeah, I love his whole approach to this, from the first 2 frameworks videos and now these 2 in-depth videos. Honestly, if you've not watched them, go back to the beginning and watch all 4 of these videos he's put together. Super good. I mean, he could be an amazing presenter if he wanted to as well. He's a man of many talents. And definitely worth keeping an eye on. The links to those are all underneath there, by the way. Okay, so 3 quick-fire questions coming at you on screen. Delve into the knowledge and see if you know these. So first one, what bike was Aaron Gwynn racing when he got on the podium for the first time at the UCI World Cup? Second question, what makes the Canyon Lux Trail different from the regular Lux? And the last question, what did Old Bayer do before making bikes?
Oh, I don't know this.
Pick up the answer in a bit.
I don't know.
Okay, so let's pick up some comments from last week's show. I think we were basically talking about steel. The first one, you got to love this. So from Mark Marino, trust me, I'm a blacksmith. Steel is the best. Although I still appreciate carbon fibre, I like the 100% recyclability of steel. But I did notice, underneath that comment, Brian Graves tried to cut you down. Which I think this is great, because it's all friendly banter anyway. It says, in a world where every damn piece of food and consumer product comes in an unrecyclable piece of plastic, I consider the recyclability of a bicycle a non-issue.
Strong words there from Brian.
Proper mic drop, that one. Yeah. Come on, it all helps. It all helps. It's going to take a long way to correct the problems that we have on this planet, but every little thing does help, surely.
Yeah, so next up we've got from from Alan Leonard. I've got a Kotick BFE Max, or BFE Max if you want to say that. I upgraded from a Norco Torrent hardtail, which was aluminium, primarily because I thought the Kotick looked amazing compared to the Torrent. The ride quality of the Kotick is way better, more compliant on the ground and more composed in the air. Love it, nothing better than a steel hardtail for simplicity and durability.
I agree with that. I've ridden both of those frames, and the Torrent is a very good hardtail, by the way. Don't be put off at anyone, but it's quite harsh if you don't set it up right and you don't get, like, you know, good high volume tyres. So yeah, steel is definitely going to take that away from it.
Yeah, it's not Norco's fault, is it? Aluminium's pretty.
They spec'd it for a reason. They make steel bikes as well. They wanted that one to have a certain ride. DPN G6, catchy name there. I've been heavily eyeballing one of those Kona Honzo ESDs for a while. Never ridden a proper steel mountain bike before, but it looks sublime. That bike is a rocket sheep. I promise you, rocket sheep?
Rocket sheep!
It's a rocket sheep, yeah. It is absolutely flat out. Those things are insane. I've seen some people riding seriously fast on those. Beautiful looking hardtail, that.
Oh, it's lucky I've got this comment. So Zed Owning says, love the new presenter, calls out old tat for what it is. A good counterpoint to Doddy's rose-coloured walks down memory lane.
Nothing wrong with the colour glasses that I don't wear. That's all I can say. But can I just remind you of the fact that she liked to bike with odd-sized wheels that was poo brown?
Yeah, but I didn't say I wanted it now. That's
I
just
know.
madness.
Hey, I've never said I wanted. Actually, I have said that, haven't I? Yeah. David Findlay says, how come someone hasn't come up with a plastic frame? I know there's plastics out there that can handle the job and would be super light. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure the old school GT LTS bikes that came in thermoplastic were down that road.
Do we want that though? I mean, plastic's pretty brittle, isn't the whole... Can you build flex into plastic?
I'm pretty sure that Brian Graves wouldn't want a plastic frame.
Right.
Just throwing that one out there.
Yeah, he's going to be mic dropping all over that comment in a minute. Yeah, I mean, is there maybe... I don't know, but there's some other weirder frame materials we can go down. I remember they started making bamboo, bamboo bike.
And what about the pandas?
Well, we can grow some more for them. So I've got Cold Forged Cowboy, interesting name there. GMBN Tech, it is time to get over steel bicycles. Oof, strong words there. Steel is great for chains and gears because of its easy mechanicability. Oh, that's a hard word to say. And formability. There's some really hard words in here. However, as far as steel being a great frame material, it has been superseded by aluminium carbon. You haven't told us why. Why is it? Why is it better? Tell me why is it better? Because
I don't think it's better. I think all those materials add to good things.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily think any one is particularly better. But some great comments from people, I think. And it's good to see people taking the piss a bit as well. It's nice. So keep them coming. Okay, so for top mods, I actually had my brand new Canyon Lux Trail arrive. So in case you're wondering, it's just a little bit longer than a regular Lux. It has 110mm travel on the rear instead of 100mm, and a slightly longer front centre. Couldn't get it exactly how I wanted to, so I took it over to see Finn at Full Factory Suspension and made a little vloggy thing. Here it is. A little bit of a different one for top mods this week. Actually doing some changes to my brand new Canyon Lux Trail. So you might have seen some images, in fact here they are, on screen that I posted on my social a little while back on its maiden voyage. Awesome bike. Had to make some changes to get the cockpit the way I liked, so I'm now running a 780 bar, which is 20mm shorter than I normally run, and I'm running a 40mm stem on there. So it comes spec with a 60, and it was just a touch long for the measurement that I like to do between tip of the saddle and centre of the bars. Whoa, proper stormy. And of course the centre of the BB shell to centre of the bars. That's kind of the two rough measurements I take to get my cockpit where I like it, basically. But I can't get the rear shock to feel exactly the way I like it. So the previous Lux, bearing in mind it was 10mm travel different in the rear end, and the shock has 5mm stroke difference, so 2-to-1 on there. Just doesn't feel quite as good. Now can't figure out if it's the shock tune or if it's just the way that the bike has been intended to ride. So I'm taking a guess, because it's got 10mm extra travel, the Canyon design has spec'd a shock on it with a little bit more compression or maybe a bit more mid-stroke support to effectively try and make it pedal a bit differently. But I want to try and undo that because I really like the way the previous Lux rode. So hopefully Finn's going to work some magic on the back end, and I'll report back shortly.
With the ring shim sort of set up, obviously you have your piston, and then your first covering shim is pretty much as normal. Sometimes they make them a bit firmer, but what they do is they put like a ring shim which sits here, which is slightly thicker, and then they have a thin, smaller shim inside, and then they cap that off with another shim like that. So what that means is when you tighten that down there, it preloads these shims, so it like almost forces them into a slight curve, bends them, and that means that it takes a lot more force to initially pop that shim stack open. The force needed there to pop that open with the oil is a lot firmer than it would be with that. But it also means you get a weird sort of breakaway sensation like you're getting on the bike. You get that breakaway where it's like, feels like it's super firm, super firm, super firm, and then it just goes whoop, wide open, and you're like, oh, now I've got no damping. It's like there's no backup almost to it, because a lot of them, they just use that, and they use very minimal stack on top.
So as Finn stripped the shock down, we quickly noticed that it didn't actually have a ring shim system on the inside. As he was explaining to me, it did actually just have a compression shim stack, though he did notice a couple of the shims in there were probably a little bit on the thicker side, so he just replaced them with some slightly thinner ones with the aim that they would deflect that little bit quicker and hopefully just become a little bit softer off the top, which is what I was looking for to try and simulate how my previous shock on the old Lux worked. Then essentially gave the shock a service, put some fresh oil in there, got the bike back together, and then hit the trails. Just to give you the Lux Trail, bit of a run in, been over to Full Factory Suspension, and had the rear shock tuned, and Finn's ended up putting a slimmer shim in on a compression stack essentially. It was just feeling a little bit choked, not necessarily bad, but compared to my previous Lux, totally different. And I've also now got a much shorter stem on there. I've got a 40mm rather than the 60 it came with, And now my bar position, centre of bar to tip of saddle in the same position, and centre of bar to bottom bracket shell is the same as my Lux. So in theory, it feels the same, but better. Let's find out, shall we? I'm not sure that would have felt too nice on the old cross-country bike, but hey, flipping windy, probably can't tell that. Alright though, I'm enjoying it. Geometry feels sick. Oh, there we go, it's pretty loose, but that's what happens when I go over camera, go and visit someone and get my bike fixed. But it was good, I went riding and got wet, and it's better.
What more could you ask for? So next up, we've got some bike caves from you lovely people, and I love having a little snoop around people's garages and bike caves. And today I've picked two of my favourites, and there's a little bit of a wooden theme here, but generally I like what they've done with this sort of customisation. So first up, oh, you're looking up there. I think you're looking...
out of order here.
Possibly. You're looking at Anna's bike cave there.
Oh yeah.
So Anna's bike cave looks like what I think, basically what I think of when I think of a bike cave is just stuff and bikes everywhere. But basically Anna's from Norway. He's sectioned off the back of his garage. He's given himself a 2.5 by 3 metre space at the back of the garage, insulated it. He's put a heater in there. He's lined it with ply and then put a lot of stuff on the walls to give him some space there, some bike racks. He's even got a Park Tool wall-mounted stand there as well.
I looked
to use on the wall-mounted stand.
I looked at one of those, yeah, just for like, you know, getting some floor space back.
Yeah,
it's a good idea.
He's doing a good job there, and also built his own worktop there as well, just to custom in the space. So yeah.
It is crammed, isn't it?
Really
got
crammed.
everything going on in there.
It reminds me of how bike shops used to be.
Absolutely.
It's just some discs, just like stapled to a wall. Yeah. Like, I need one of those.
And you'd always know how to sort of just move around in there, you know, without hitting anything.
Yeah. But my favourite, I think, is Kyle James, this guy. Now, he says he's from Nottingham. I think, Kyle, that must be the UK, but I could be wrong. Kyle had a brain hemorrhage recently and a stroke, been off the bike for 7 years, but his mate got him back into it.
Wow.
Now he's on an e-bike. He's got his missus on the e-bike, and I can see a little kid's bike in the back as well there. So he's obviously got the little one on a balance bike too, which is great. But that's not the reason why I love this bike cave. The bike cave, he's made it himself.
Oh my God.
It looks like
size of that.
I know, right? It looks like he's made it from old pallet wood by the looks of it. Yeah. You haven't told us, Kyle, but that is some serious work there.
Yeah.
Our mate earlier, who's into recycling, would love this. But I do love the bike rack in the back corner. He's got, like, basically you hook the front wheel
Looks
into
like they can move around, doesn't it?
I think they're hinged, so they basically move into a corner, and he's got all of that space back.
Yeah, that's a wicked idea. Yeah,
brilliant. There's a couple of little hooks on the back as well, where he's like hanging his pump up, and yeah, he's just like manufactured a lot of stuff out of wood there.
I love how much desk space. That's just so nice.
Do you know what I noticed? This is really geeky for me, but all of his worktops line up. He's got 3 different worktops there, and they all perfectly line up. Carl, I noticed that.
Yeah, that's
pleasing. I know
pleasing.
what you're doing there, mate.
Love it. I love seeing stuff like that. That's for like a proper labourer. I love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice work, Kyle. Awesome stuff, and great to hear like you're back riding and stuff again. It's a tough journey for anyone to go down. Okay, and lastly, just some quiz answers to wrap this up. So the first one, of course, was what bike was Aaron Gwynn racing when he got on the podium for the first time at a UCI Downhill World Cup? I feel like some of you might have got this right and some of you might have got it wrong. It was a Yeti, and it was the one with the sliding rail shock design, so the 303R DH with the rail there. And that was a 3rd place at 2009 at Mont St Anne, which is quite a long time ago if you consider how long he's been absolutely smashing it. Next one was what makes the Canyon Lux Trail different from the Lux? Hopefully you were paying attention when you saw what I was doing to my bike. So it's got 110mm travel on the back now instead of 100mm travel, up to 120 on the front from 100mm, and a bit longer and a little bit slacker, essentially, just to take on a little bit more, hopefully. And the last question was, what did Orbea make before bikes? They made guns. They made rifles and guns. basically.
Out of carbon?
I mean, we're talking a long time ago. So they started making bikes in 1930.
Right.
So, but they had a history making stuff for military way back, which I thought was, never saw it coming, clearly.
Never would have guessed that.
Absolutely not.
Never would have guessed that.
Interesting stuff though.
Oh, well, if you've enjoyed the show, as always, like us so that we can keep making content like this. And join the debate in the comments below, because we can't make the show without you. Let us know what you think about the news that's been coming out. Let us know what you thought about our desirable topic, and join the debate. And we'll hopefully see you next week.
See you later.
Nice. Sweet.